Um, Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today for our Surviving COVID-19 webinar series. This series, I'm very excited to have Reddy and Jazz join me to talk about asset management and property management for your rentals. And Jazz and Reddy both belong to Sahara Equity, so they co-own Sahara Equity. And they have over 1,000 unit portfolio in DFW area today, and still expanding. And so they own a portfolio, mostly B and C class properties in various locations, ranging from A location to C minus location. So during this time, I'm sure we heard a lot of national news about, hey, last month, people talked about 30% in terms of not be able to kind of collect on rental incomes and etc. But I think when we're actually running this business, the news is quite different. So we want to kind of share up in the front where we at with apartment collections and all the other stuff. And what is unique about Jazz and Reddy is that they're now switched to a vertical management model, which is very different from a few other syndicators out there where we're still leveraging third-party management to kind of help us manage our property. They've gone vertical, which means they own their property management company as well. That only serves Sahara Equity's holding. So they will have a very upfront, frontline view on how to manage the rentals, the collections, the impacts, and etc. To that. So it'll be very much a Q&A sessions. I want them to kind of come in and talk about it. Again, housekeeping things over here, because I know people always ask this question. They repeatedly ask this. Yes, the session will be recorded. If you click on the link up on the top, if you join from Facebook Live, again, this is a new technology we're trying out. You'll be able to kind of join in our Zoom or get it registered to the Zoom recording. If you have attended our webinar in the past, you're already on our mailing list, so you will be receiving the recording. But if you're not sure, just go ahead and register that. So whoever registered there, you're receiving a recording as well. Yes, the session is recorded. Reddy, I just want to do a double check. It looks like on my indicator over here, it did say that I'm recording them, so I'm good to go. Yeah. Reddy, very welcome to our show today. And looks like Jazz is having a little technical difficulty joining in, and she's at the property right now. Reddy, you want to kind of give us a little bit of background of what you and Jazz do?
Yes. Thank you, Elisa, for bringing this to us, so for making a part of this this webinar series that you have going on for the last 1 month. A little bit more than 1 month, I guess. But thank you for bringing us as guests in your webinar series. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name is Reddy, as Elisa said. I live in DFW. I live in Irving, city Irving, which is part of DFW. So we, like Elisa said, me and Jazz are primarily partners in Sahara Equity. We have about more than 1,300 units that we manage, we own, manage, we asset manage, and also property manage. Those, all of them are in DFW, in different submarkets of DFW. We have properties in Dallas, Fort Worth, Grand Prairie, Waxahachie. So within Dallas, we have 3 different properties. So we know the area very, very well. We've been living in Dallas for more than close to 20 years now. So that's why we focus purely on in DFW market. As I said, we have about more than 1,300 units. And recently we brought in Elisa and Ramu as our partners, and we have created another group called. So at the same time, we have our, like Elisa mentioned, we have our vertically integrated property management company as well. So by having, I'll give you a little bit story about how we started property management company, right? So basically, if you were to ask me the same question last year around this time, we said, no, we don't have any intention or any idea of starting a third-party management company in near future. That would have been my answer if you asked me the same question last year. But certain things forced us to take care of property management. I'll tell you that what made us take care of property management. First thing is that we have, like I said, we have 7 properties within DFW. 5 of them are in an excellent location, a good demographics, no issues. 2 of the properties are in locations where we have a lot of challenges with the demographics and the location itself. We know that at the time of buying those properties, we know that they are going to be challenging properties, but we bought them at a good price point. Both of them within 60s, low 60Ks. So if you see in the last couple of years, it's hard to find any property that's selling at 60K range. So that's what motivates us to buy. At the same time, that low price tag came with some challenges as well. So out of those 2, one of them is in South Dallas, which is like 348 units. It's low 60s per door property. So we bought in around June of last year. So that's why I'm telling Elisa that if you are to ask us this question last year, we would have said, no, we don't have any intention to do property management. But as soon as we acquired the property, we started paying close attention to the property because we know, like I said, there were a lot of issues going into the property. We started monitoring expenses. We were not just asset manager. We used to spend a lot of time in the property hands-on to make sure that how the things are going because, like I said, it's a really big property. So within a couple of months, like August, September, October, within 3 months, we have noticed that the expenses were going going up like crazy. I mean, we were going negative cash flow. I know the property has issues. I know the property has some issues from city also. There is something called repair agreement from city of Dallas that was in place, which made us to do certain kinds of repairs. So if you see, repairs are not part of CapEx, so you cannot capitalize them. They are expenses. So we need to do those repairs in a smarter way with lowest expense possible. That's where the property management, failed, at least failed us, spending so much money on every small thing. So at certain point in October, our payroll was like $50,000 to $60,000 bi-weekly. Think about it. For a 348 unit property, if you think about $1,000 to $1,200 a unit, your monthly payroll should be anywhere from $35,000 to $40,000, not like $100,000 to $120,000. See, you think that's 3 times more than what the property is supposed to have in terms of, payroll cost. That's when we said, okay, this is not the property is not going in the right direction. We need to do something. That's when we told the property management company, okay, just hang tight, give us the control. You still manage the employees. You take care of the payroll, but you give us all the powers to run the property. We run the property. So basically we said we run the property, and then we have a separate agreement from regular property management contract. We wrote a separate agreement with the management company saying, the next 3 months we are going to control the whole thing. You just pay the payroll for the employees, and hiring and firing of the employees also we'll take care of it. You just let us know. I mean, let us take the control. So a lot of property management companies may not have done that, but this property management company that's local and we have good relations with them, all our properties were managed by them. So we got that leverage of having that kind of additional authorization from them. So then
Reddy, just to kind of touch on that too, right? Like the property is also not the lending mechanism is a different thing too, right? Like it was an owner financed the property. So there's a flexibility in terms of lenders allow us to kind of take that over as well.
Right, exactly. This particular property is a bridge loan. It is a bridge loan. Still, it's a higher interest bridge loan, but lender was helpful, supportive of us. We told lender this is what we are doing, so they were supportive of us, right? So we controlled the property for 2 months with having property management on the back seat, and then we were able to control the expenses tremendously, and we got rid of some people that were only in the property just for the time's sake, like just spending time 8 hours a day without doing nothing. So we were able to look at those people and got rid of them, and we hired good people, and we were able to we were able to reduce the payroll drastically. And then that made us think, okay, I think this is what we should be doing. We should take control of our properties. From that point onwards, we slowly took over all the properties one by one. By February of this year, we have control of all of our properties. So that's why I'm telling you all this whole story is that like conditions forced us to take care of property management, but which is a good thing. And especially in this kind of situation, we are so fortunate that we are able to manage our properties in the most optimum way with the lowest expenses. So, that helped us tremendously.
That's awesome. Thank you, Reddy, for sharing with us the story of you guys starting the vertical management model. A few cliff notes over here. Again, I'm experimenting between two different platforms for this. Is, just to kind of sum it up, Reddy and Jazz basically, when the property wasn't performing as expected, the expenses was on the high side. They kind of didn't really give up. At that point, they took over the property under their management. So a couple things to note over there. It sounds like making sure that your lender allows you to do so. And two is build a good relationship with your current PM, third-party PM, because you're going to start somewhere from third-party PMs and then kind of translate into that. And then maybe having a partial takeover plan that may span multiple months. And that's kind of how they got turned it into a vertical management model from the third-party model over there. Sounds good. Thank you, Reddy, and thank you, Jazz, for joining us. In fact, Jazz is at currently one of the property that was one of them that they took over to start with. Yeah, so I think we wanted to kind of get into the Q&A session over here. So the session's going to be structured this way. We're going to be talking about how COVID-19 impacted multifamily investment so far in terms of management and what you guys been kind of doing, to help manage the tenants, making sure collections up to date, also expenses under control. Obviously, you have a leg up with a vertically integrated model over here compared to other operators in this space. Tell me a little bit more, for our viewers, how is COVID-19 impact, your current portfolios of holdings of apartments? Do you really see kind of like a significant impact? I know like nationally people talk about in the newspaper, fake news, talk about 30% non-collection. Is that really true?
No. Well, no, we did not have that kind of impact, fortunately. So, like I said, 5 of our properties are in excellent location. Again, these are the times where location matters, right? That's why we always say when we go to investors, whenever we acquire a new property, we always say location, 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 because location matters. For a couple of our properties, one of them is in Irving, Texas, where I live. The property is in an excellent location. We paid premium for the location, but the property didn't have any delinquencies. There's no difference between March, April, now May. There are no differences. Every tenant paid the rent. No issues. That's why location matters and demographics matter. Out of 7 properties, 5 properties, we more than 95% of the money we have collected, both April and May. Only 2 properties where, like I just told you about, one of them is like in South Dallas with 348 units. Surprisingly, we were able to collect about 80% of rents of that property as well. Both in April, we've collected more than close to 90%. In May, we are at 80+% right now. That's surprising. The other thing what we thought was April people will have money because the actual close down started somewhere in March, mid-March. So we thought April people will pay rent because they have jobs until March, mid-March. So we thought, okay, because people stayed at home or lost jobs throughout the month of April, we thought May is going to be the worst month. But fortunately, that's not the case. In certain cases, we've collected more than April in May. And the percentages, like I said, all the 5 properties, we are at more than 90%. On those 2 properties, we are still at 75 to 80%. So we did not see a lot of impact due to COVID-19, fortunately. And good thing about Dallas, Texas in general and DFW in particular is that our state has been opened like about a week ago now. So not a week ago, but a few days ago. So it's slowly, they're opening back up every day, some new businesses. Yesterday, I went to a barber shop and got my hair cut done. So
looking sharp, yes.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, businesses are opening up. So that's a good thing for Dallas. So people are getting back on their feet. So we are hoping that June will be much better than May. But again, we did not see a biggest impact like the way we anticipated. We're fortunate in that case.
Gotcha. And then also, sorry for another housekeeping comment over here. We traditionally have been putting all the Q&As. If you're tuning in on Facebook, make sure you go to the registered link, asking questions over there, or try to type in question. I'll see if I can monitor them. But if you're in the Zoom call right now, just make sure that you're putting the question in the Q&A. The chat box is for kind of comments and etc. Yeah, if you have a question, making sure bring these questions up in the Q&A, we will address them as well. So Reddy, like it sounds like right now in May, the impact of the COVID is a little bit better. It sounds like April was kind of more the scary moment. So what are the things that you would kind of recommend us to do? Let's say some folks who don't have a rental yet, and some folks do have rentals, but what do you actually kind of see the most, like couple of the activities we can kind of do, like tips and trips essentially, to kind of boost that collection? Aside from the location that you mentioned before, location is kind of a given. If you're a C- class, obviously we are collecting like much lower versus a class property, sorry, not A class location, where all the renters are kind of in good IT jobs, so they're not impacted as much. That's given by the market. But what are some like tips would you give in order for us to kind of actually ask for collection in the environment where there's no eviction that is allowed?
So these are the times where you have to be really communicative with the tenants. Your communication, your treatment of tenants come into play in these kind of situations. That's what we did. Even though a lot of properties, they've closed their leasing offices, we kept our leasing office open, but not wide open, but we did lock the door, but we put a sign saying, if you need anything urgent, knock on the door or call the number, we will be at your service. So times, and at the same time, like I said, communication is the most important thing here. We were in constant communication by sending notices to tenants. One of them is, okay, we are going to, if you are truly impacted by COVID-19, we are going to waive your late fee. We are going to work with you on a payment plan. And also we see, when we have these online payment options for the tenants, that's been there for a long time. People, if a tenant pays with ACH, they get charged like $2 to $3 per month. If they pay with a credit card, there are certain type of percentage. So it will cost them anywhere from $25 to $30 per month if they were to use the credit card payments. So this is where I know most of the other people are doing the same thing, but we did the same thing. Basically, we talked to our credit card management ACH, that company, and we told them, can we take that charge onto us instead of burdening the tenants? We take the charge. So they were able to change the process immediately. So for the month of April and May, we took over all the charges for the ACH and credit card payments. So that helped us in terms of collections, because before April and May, we hardly I have never seen any credit card payment come as a rent. But these 2 months we have seen online payments, be it ACH or credit card transactions. So that's one of the best things that help. At the same time, communication, like I said, our property managers collected all the federal and local assistance programs provided by the government. They prepared a list, and then they've sent frequent notices to the tenants saying, okay, if you are not able to pay your rent, these are the places that you should be talking to. These are the agencies you should be working with to get your payment. But like I said, like for the 5 properties which are in good locations, we didn't have that kind of issue. But these 2 properties where we have some challenges, we did more communication than any time before. This is the first time we did so much communication to them. And we told them, okay, you don't have to worry about it. If you are truly impacted by COVID, we are there to help you and support you. And there were certain tenants who were delinquent before COVID. So some of them tried to use COVID as an excuse. Then we said, no, this is not going to work. We are going to work with tenants that are really impacted by COVID. So the other tenants, we said, okay, we are waiting for eviction dates. As soon as court opens up, I mean, we'll file the eviction. So those people also started paying some rents, but good rent paying tenants by looking. See, again, this is not one solution fits for all. It's case by case basis. We told the managers, when a tenant comes with COVID-19 impact issue, first of all, look at their rental history and see, before COVID, were they up to date? Have they ever been delinquent? Work with those kind of tenants, give them, if we have to give them like 5% discount, give them, but let's work with them to get the rent. So we did that, and that showed us good results in terms of collections. So those are the things that we have done.
So I know, and then a few kind of highlights over there too, is, like, I think I actually haven't heard about this credit card thing, which is really helpful to kind of know that. A few other things I know you guys are implementing too, just because I'm partners with you guys on a few deals. Like some options that's out there was to kind of like, for example, you can insure, you can help the tenants to kind of new tenants sign up to have the essential deposit insurance. There's Rhino.com that kind of provides some of these, and then turning some of these tenant deposit into actually paying for the rent, because sometimes the deposit may be big, half a month of rent's already, and then so applying the amount to the rent instead, and then having them sign up for the insurance, and then the insurance companies be able to kind of cover some of that. Obviously, I know there's a lot of community building online, Facebook, and et cetera, that you guys have built up as well to kind of keep your residents informed, because it is kind of scary time, right? And also, I know that you guys did a lot of, perception-wise, kind of cleaning the common areas and making that available for the tenants, making sure the amenity continue to work during this critical time. Part of it is kind of also the service as well. There's a couple other resources out there. Just want to kind of share this, with our listeners over here. A couple other things I've heard is there are community building services that's out there that help to kind of connect it with your community, such as, apartmentlife.com. One of the syndicators kind of shared with me on this over the weekend. And a couple other things, so like, working on a partial payment with the renter. And it's pretty important in the commercial world that we have to collect these informations on COVID documents to make sure, should we ever needed to do forbearance, not that we need to do over here, but if your property is in trouble, should you ever need to do forbearance with Freddie and Fannie rules, they will request you pretty stringent on these, proven that you are actually impacted by COVID-19. So collecting these documents and making sure that they sign on these is also something that I know you guys kind of stay on top of with. Tell us a little bit about, your learning on cash management during this crisis. I think just like us, among all the other properties we own, cash management has been a talk of the town. Like, for example, we heard some passive investor talked about, hey, our GPs are holding back distribution. We obviously have a stance on this in terms of, hey, right now we want to kind of hold all the cash to cash manage. Can you kind of give us some insight into cash management, having essentially enough reserve to help you make sure your property kind of go through the down cycle?
Okay. Cash management. So like cash is going to be critical in these times. So we have, luckily, again, for the property a few months ago, we started, saving cash. So we looked for different ways to increase revenues and also reduce expenses. That thereby we have good cash flow in few properties, except those two properties. Again, I'm bringing those two properties back up all the time because we have those challenges there. But other than those 5 properties are cash rich. We have abundant cash, and we, couple of days ago, last weekend, for one of the properties, we distributed 3 months of money at 10%. So because we have more than enough cash for that property, and there is no impact whatsoever COVID-19. So for all the other properties also, we have excellent cash reserves. So we, like I said, having this vertical integration with our own property management company helped us to control expenses. And also, when we left, it's not just us. Elisa, you have this experience also. Whenever you change the property management company, you have so many invoices that were accrued for the past 6 months or something. Suddenly, you get a bill of 200,000, 250,000. So you don't, even if you have 200,000 cash reserves also, you have all these unpaid invoices that are going to take up all of your cash reserves. So basically, you will end up, you don't have really cash reserves at all, because your cash reserves equal to your unpaid invoices. So, but in our case, we know exactly, because we do property management company also. Our property management team reports us everything, like on a weekly basis. So we know exactly what are the unpaid invoices. And we don't keep invoices more than 1 month. Whenever invoices become due, we pay. We don't wait for them to keep sending letters. Plus, after we took over property management company, we got rid of a lot of contracting work. We do a lot of in-house work, whether it's AC, plumbing, a lot of different things. We have very few contractors that we work with, and we know what they charge and we know what their payment terms are. So what I'm trying to say is that we don't have any unknown expenses. So when I say I have 200,000 cash reserve, that 200,000 is true cash reserve. There's no other expense that's going to cut into my reserve. You know what I mean? So that's how we are managing cash, like reduced expenses and increased revenue.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so with third-party management, I do have to share over here. Sometimes you do get a surprising bills and etc. over there. One tips I will share over here with some of the property that we manage is that in the company agreement with the PM company, I always put in a cap of $500 or $1,000 require my approval. Sometimes your PM company don't always agree with that, but I found that being very essential from the experience I have managing small properties. You want to have some sort of control over that. So yes, it's cumbersome and I have to do all the approvals, but yet it kind of keeps me a little bit more in tune on what are the, capital expenditure, capital replacement, and all that stuff in the books over there. And just to kind of also mention over here, Jazz and Reddy, like I know that you guys also run some stress tests over your property as well for your investors and the cash reserves as well. So that's a very good kind of modeling, to essentially, like they've shared these with me before, to essentially kind of see where your cash is going to be and manage the investors, expectation accordingly. Should you need to do a cash call, which is okay during this time, but it's kind of one way to kind of manage that expectation with your investors and et cetera as well. I have a few questions that popped up over here on the Zoom call over here. So I think we're going to take a moment to maybe answer them, and then we're going to continue with our scheduled topics over here. So Tage has comment on, would love to know a few lenders who are invested in multifamily in DFW area. I think, do you have like any good lenders, one or two that you can kind of recommend for someone to kind of research into?
Lenders?
Yeah, lenders, yeah.
There's nobody lending in COVID times. It's only Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. There is one problem. There are a couple of banks, but they are like recourse loans. Mm-hmm. Non-recourse loans are only Fannie and Freddie. Jazz, correct me if I'm wrong. Yes. Right now,
no, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Gotcha. And then with Freddie and Fannie, it sounds like there's also a 12-month reserve rule for these federal loans. Oftentimes, why people talk about, hey, we may have a lot of deals coming up, but if you don't have money lined up, you can't really purchase them, right? So, but part of it is also building longer term relationship with a lender. Like I know you guys use Bancorp in the past with bridge loans, but moving forward, that may be a relationship you already build when the time isn't difficult, kind of carried over into the COVID time, right? That may be one way you could kind of do it. Another question we have over here is which kind of population type and property types are easy to manage? That's a kind of trick question, I think, or have less challenge in rent collection due to COVID-19.
Yeah, it's always A-class properties are easy to manage because people pay rent on them. B-class properties, like I said, during the beginning of this conversation, I said one of the properties that's in Irving, where at least I partner with us. So we bought the property for $30 million. We paid premium price, but we know that's an excellent location. That's where I live. Jas lives there. I live there within 2 miles of the property. So we know the average income and median income are more than $100,000. So for them, rent is not an issue because rent is their least concern. So for the next 6 months, even if they don't have job, also they'll have enough reserves to pay the rent. So those kind of properties, you don't have to do anything different, no matter what type of situation we are in, because they have money to pay the rent. Whereas the other properties where really C-class, where demographics, where the median income is 35,000 to 40,000 or even less, that's where you have to pay a lot of attention. You have to do constant communication with them. You have to work with them on payment plans. You have to waive whatever the number of talked about in the beginning of this conversation. We have to work with all those things, and that's where we spend most of the time. This morning, right now, Jas is in a property where one of those properties where we have like a lot of issues with the demographic collection. So she's been there for the last 3-4 hours and sat with the manager and giving her direction. And we were in a couple of different properties this morning also. So COVID-19 didn't really stop us from doing our work. We've been going to our properties every day, almost every day, with masks on. But we want to make sure our property managers feel that, okay, they are not just pushing us to the leasing office and they are staying at home. We're not like that. We are there with them to make sure, okay, we are here to support you, and we need to work together as a team. We need to do what's best for our tenants. At the same time, we need to collect the money. So, yeah, the short answer is the C-class properties are better, more difficult to manage than B, and A is better than B. So basically,
right,
they're classified as ABC.
Yeah, makes sense. So higher median income is something that you should be looking into, in the harder time. But oftentimes also you have to balance between kind of the profit as well, because in the A location, it's very hard to come by a property that makes sense number wise. So that's kind of what.
Returns are not going to be great.
Right. That's what your trade-offs should be on these areas. So somewhere in the middle, like a B is, property pretty much everybody wants, right? And another question that we have over here, again, guys, like put your Q&As in the Q&A box if you can, so that I'm not missing them. How did you make 1,000 properties? What strategy did you use to build that portfolio? That's a very, not quite related with this topic, but could you kind of shortly sum it up, Reddy, on this? I think it takes time to build that, right? Also, do you have a couple other suggestions you have over here for someone who maybe aspire to build so many properties in the portfolio?
See, for anything that's achieved, whoever achieves anything, that they need to have a good team. So we have a good team. Like for example, Jas, she works till late nights, 3 in the morning. She does this property analysis. So many properties, she goes through the property analysis, right? So before you put an offer on a property, you have to go through our property analysis. We have to look at all the numbers. She sends her son sometimes to do drive-bys to collect all the comps and all those things. So, and then Elisa, you helped us a lot of underwritings, and then we have Ramu who helped us in a lot of different things. I do certain things. So basically, this is all teamwork. One person cannot do everything. So we have good team in place. We have motivated team in place. We encourage each other, and we do disagree sometimes, but we make sure what's best for our company and what's best for our investors. We do analysis multiple times with different pairs of eyes, different brains, and then we are we don't sit idle. Basically, we keep. So as soon as we close a property, we look for the next one, And we make sure at the same time we don't lose focus on the one that we closed. We make sure that the property is in good hands, make sure we have a good team in place to manage the property, to run the day-to-day operations. And at the same time, we will focus on acquisition. So for example, within our team, I do most of the operations work. I go to the property. Lately, Jas has been doing that because of the COVID-19. But she does most of the acquisition. She talks to brokers times. She gets a lot of these offerings directly to her, and she has good relations with the brokers. She does all the financial analysis, and then we all are finding and we do some more due diligence on that. So, Jas, you want to add anything?
No, I think you have done pretty much a good job in responding or covering all of it. And you're right, team is definitely the foremost important thing for us to get to this level. And then persistence. So there's not that every offer that we have put in has been accepted. We have gone through multiple rejections, and we have we haven't lost our hope. We never lost our hope. We just moved on to the next one. So yeah, team effort and the persistence together has brought us to this.
And hardworking, because I know there's many late nights Jas is up to. In fact, she was a very interesting story. She was living at one of the apartment building that they own during the thick of the COVID-19 when it first started, just to kind of protect her family. Because she's like, hey, I can't really not work. I have to go to these property, because that's a downside of owning your own property management company, is you can't just call it in and be like, hey, remotely control everything. Like, they actually have to be there, right? So she was living at one of the properties and making sure her family isn't impacted by potentially COVID-19, harm in a way, because she has like an older mother at home and etc.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It was primarily because I have a mom at home, and she's a diabetic and high blood pressure, and all of these news, all they talk about is the first one getting affected. So I couldn't take any chance. So that was the reason primarily. But yes, to your point, and just like to your previous question also on how we have built up the team that we talked about, coordinating team and complementing team as well. So between all of us, we all share some skill sets which the others are not maybe too keen of or too proficient at, or are okay for the other one to do it. So there is no stepping onto each other's foot, or even if we have to share any roles, then we all discuss and we're all okay with that. So yeah, I'm a late night person, but Reddy is an early morning person. So we kind of cover a 24-hour cycle in a way.
That's awesome. Great. Okay, so going back to kind of our original topic over here, and I'll address the Q&A here shortly as well. So tell us a little bit about lease-up changes during the COVID-19, and how do you kind of mitigate the lease-up in terms of velocities and etc. Do you give concessions, and is there additional different website that you kind of advertise on? Because given that people are not moving during the lockdown period, how do you kind of then get units still leased up? Because I noticed that some of the properties that you guys have under management didn't really quite skip a beat in terms of leasing up activity. So what did you guys do there? Oh, Reddy?
On lease up activities?
Yeah.
Reddy, you can take it up. And interestingly, now that I'm at the property as well,
So
I can also have our property manager talk about that.
Oh, sweet.
Reddy covers that, yeah?
Awesome. Reddy, do you want to cover it?
So what Jas is saying is that she's at a property. One of our property management manager can give us some tips as to what she has done for the last couple of months. But to answer your question, so like I said during our conversation a few minutes ago, I said we kept all of our leasing offices open. It doesn't mean that we kept it wide open, but we put notices saying we are open. If you want to do a tour, we are more than happy to take you to a physical tour in a vacant unit, your protective mask and all that. A lot of properties surrounding us were not doing that. They were completely closed, and they were only allowing virtual tours. That kept us in a much better position than the surrounding properties. The other thing is that as soon as we heard these closings, we said, okay, from 15th of March, we said a couple of our properties, we said 1 month rent free. That's, span across 2 months. So first month half and second month half. And then a couple of leasing agents, they are really good at Facebook marketing. So that's where we had a lot of tenants we were able to get through Facebook marketing in a couple of properties. So again, this marketing strategy is different from property to property again. That's what we've observed based on our experience. Certain properties that are in, B-class location, we have gotten a lot of traction through apartments.com. Certain properties which are in C-class location, we had a lot of new tenants through Facebook marketing. Leasing agents, personal Facebook marketing really helped us. So that 348 unit property that I was talking about, in April, we got like about 27 new leases. Think about it, 27 new leases in April. And within the last 2.5 weeks, we got 13 more leases. So in total, for the last 45 days, we got 14 new leases in that property. So occupancy was like about 80% before COVID. Now it's close to a little over 90%. Because like I said, before COVID, we started, evicting a lot of bad people. So then we said, as soon as we came to know about COVID, we said, what the heck? We are in trouble now because we evicted all the people. Now our occupancy is 80%. Now suddenly on top of this, we have this COVID. How do we survive? So again, we did not give up. We immediately changed the strategy. We gave 1 month rent-free span across 2 months. We marketed in such a way that our leasing office is open for physical tours also with protective equipment or properly protected conditions. And we were able to get those new leases. So now we are at 90%. So basically, like I said, your persistence, your hard work, your close attention to your properties, that's what matters. And again, on top of that, you need to have a good team on site to take your vision, to work on your direction. So all we can do is give them direction. If they don't work on your direction, it's not going to work. So basically, that's what we did. We have good people. We have hired good people, and then we give them right direction. So they executed they followed our direction, and then we saw good results.
Gotcha. So you kind of have a system also to physically show the property as well. While the other competitions were kind of only doing remote sharing. There's obviously prototypes and the cleanest, protections, all the other stuff that you put in place.
We took all the precautions.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we did.
That's awesome. Jazz, so it sounds like we have a surprise guest speaker that's going to be tuning in here too. Some folks that has been kind of working on the front line for our property management company. That's why I love this, because you kind of get really the front line view of what's happening over there. Yes.
So say hi to Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia.
She is our property manager at one of our properties in Fort Worth. And
oh, we lost her.
Hi.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So we kind of just wanted, so you're on Facebook Live, just FYI, and on our show over here. So do you have kind of some other detailed things to kind of share in terms of tips and tricks for trust funds, right? Or the Hills at 5400, what you've been kind of doing that's been successful in terms of lease up and getting people to renewal? What are some stuff that you were doing there?
Well, we're working with the people right now with the COVID-19 is little bit slow. We think that was gonna be slow to lease, but thanks to our bosses, they allow us to come to work and work in different ways. Now we had to do like appointments to come and see apartments. We do Facebook Live. That way the residents can see their apartments and see what are they leasing. That way we don't have to be in person showing the units. Yeah, and it's getting better. way better.
Tell you a good occupancy when you came in.
When I come on March, the occupancy over here in this property was like around 89%. And we was already on the program with the COVID-19. And now my occupancy is 93%.
Wow.
And I have few applications right now that I'm working on it to try to get the right residents over here.
Gotcha. So doing some extra over there. Thank you, Cynthia, for you chiming in on this. Awesome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
And she's constantly working on the collections as well. And then just like we started, she has a resident that she'd call in just before it started, and the resident's already here to make her payment. So, being supportive to our team, our employees is also very important at this time. We all are being affected with COVID, and there are some mandates that requires us to stay remote, stay at home orders. We are in essential business services. She's responsible to make sure all the residents here has got what they need to live in this property safely. So if she comes to the office, make sure that she gets the maintenance orders, and the ones that are really critical, she has to get them addressed to the maintenance person here. And because we are helping them, even in this situation, they are coming and paying their rents as well. And there are some who are taking advantages, of course, but others are coming and paying rent.
Gotcha.
And this has also in a way helped them, because for some of them this is the only they're the only breadwinners of the family, and many of them have been affected. We all know about that. So it's this has become more for them a gratitude that they can come to work. They're taking precautions. In fact, she's pregnant, and we have strictly asked her to work, but she wants to, because she's the only breadwinner of the family, and she's got kids already. So she's taking precautions. So right now she stepped out for the resident, not letting anyone, or too many in here, the office. So so
That's good. Awesome.
Coordination and cooperation.
Yeah, and then just so for our viewers, this is in Texas. So actually, the stay-at-home ban for a lot of Fort Worth specifically, where this property is lifted already, and eviction actually resumes. This for state local government requirements, the eviction is actually already lifted. For some of you are in Washington, obviously, definitely check with your government's guidelines in terms of what you can do and what you cannot do, and making sure that you're not kind of out of step your stay-at-home orders for your state. This is why we kind of invested in areas that is more in the Midwest, a little bit more landlord friendly over here too. Cool. So switching gear a little bit, tell us a little bit about things that you're doing with investor updates, because I know a majority of the project that you own is syndicated projects. So what are you kind of doing during this time? Is there anything changed for investor relations? What you have to kind of bring your investors up to date on what's going on at the property. Oh, Reddy, I guess. Reddy, are you able to share that?
So question is, what is the investor communication?
Anything has changed over there?
Oh, yeah. So, Elisa, strange you asked that. Huh?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So,
yeah, question, because you take care of at least 3 properties. So.
Well, you guys have other properties too. But I can kind of share, I can kind of share some stuff that we're doing over here. We are updating our investor more frequently. So usually there's monthly updates to our investors, but now we have increased the frequency of communication. Not only that, I think just sending reports are not enough. So we've kind of hopped on the calls multiple times with our investors to give a live update or webinar update, so they can kind of see us virtually face to face, right? Because even if you're reading the report, everything is in the report. Given everybody's at home consuming all the negative news, it was important to kind of also have that kind of not necessarily one-on-one conversations, but also just to kind of face-to-face opportunity with our investors too. So we've kind of got some pretty positive feedbacks over there. We also run stress test the numbers and etc. to share with our investor the good news or the bad news. on where we are with our reserves and, in terms of risk of the properties and where our collections are. So that's kind of what we've been doing, more frequent updates, more transparency, and tell it as it is, right? And more potentially face-to-face communications. For me on my side, because I have properties in other states and as well with other investors, I've been kind of doing one-on-one calls, one-on-one consultations, open this up for my investors so that they can have that more personal touch with us as well to answer questions, to kind of to address that particular question. Yeah, and then so we do have a question over here that was asking, do you suggest to invest in state where you don't live? Do you suggest to invest out of state? That was a question kind of just brought up by one of our viewer. I will answer this. So for me, I live in Washington State. I do invest pretty much all out of state mostly. This is to do with ROI calculation, return on investment. Locally, I can't find deals that cash flow as it is in the scale that where it is at compared to DFW or Phoenix market I invested in. Also, I look at landlord-friendly states, and I live in Washington. It's not exactly landlord-friendly. In fact, they just passed a law renewing a non-eviction until, can't remember this, until the end of June at least. So that's kind of putting, a lot of local folks over here in a bind in terms of collections. Yeah.
Just to add to that, basically, in order to for any multifamily business, the first thing is that the first thing that supports the growth is, the first thing that that helps the business is your population growth, job growth, and then landlord friendly. Those three different things, right? So for DFW, we have all of them. We have job growth because a lot of companies are moving from California, different other states, and population growth. It's been tremendous for the past few years because of this. Again, job when companies move, along with the companies, population moves. And then other thing is landlord-friendly state. So that's why Texas is one of the best states, especially DFW is one of the best locations to invest in multifamily because of the consistent growth. We out of our 7 properties, we have more than 200 investors, and more than 50% of them are out-of-state investors. So you don't have to invest in the state where you live. You invest in the state where it makes more sense and where you get more returns, like I said, population growth, job growth, and landlord-friendly states.
Gotcha. Cool. So we have some other questions over here too, but I want to kind of switch gear over here, and then I'll answer the questions later on there over here. So we kind of covered the pros of going vertical. What are some of the cons going vertical? I think given the essence of time, we probably want to shorten the amount of cons that we have over there. But what are some of the cons that you see in terms of owning a property management company like a vertically? Okay, Jazz was, yeah.
The first one is time.
Yeah.
We're always busy anyways, even with just the acquisitions. And now with my operations also under our belt, I barely get to see Reddy. It's not as bad, but still there were property tours done together, and we used to do the analysis together and come up with the consensus. But at this time, with property management also under our bank, just like he mentioned, he does mostly operations. He's all around the properties, and most of the times we just have to work on the phone or Zoom, just like we are. And then on top of that, our acquisitions has cut down a little bit. So if you have noticed, back when we just were without operations, without property management under our belt, we had many more tours to be done and many more offers that we're putting in for acquisitions. So acquisitions has slowed down. So you get more acquisitions or you get acquisition with management. I think it just depends on how you have to see what's your interest level. I know Reddy loves operations, so for him, even if it takes time, doesn't matter because he loves to do that. I don't mind either. It's not something that I would jump on,
Mhm.
but I have been following his footsteps on how what the vision should be, and so is our team. So we are all taken up with that. But from the con, the first one is time.
Time. Yeah. So
Right.
it's kind of like opportunity loss, a little bit of the opportunity loss over there. Yeah.
Like you said, you mentioned Elisa, Jazz mom came from India. She's like more than 60 years old. She came here to see Jazz. Basically, her family spent time with her. Jazz moved out of the house and she lived in an apartment without seeing her mom almost a month. I think she
Yeah.
barely moved back to her house. She stayed in those apartments just to make sure the operations are not impacted. So those are things, but that's not really, I'm not telling that as a con, but those are the things that you may have to go through, but which is good. Ultimately, it's all good for the investors. That's what this is the business that we are in. So that's what the things that we have to do.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so switch gear to kind of acquisition outlook. In terms of market, a lot of folks kind of ask me this question. How do you feel the market moving forward? How do you feel the market moving forward? You know, like because I think with negative news, people are kind of scared in terms of acquisition. Obviously, the underwriting criteria, we have dialed them to be more conservative to kind of fit the post-COVID-19 criteria. But kind of like looking forward, should we be kind of looking at this type of investment? Is there opportunity kind of in the near future?
Yeah, I think so. There will be opportunities in the near future because you know the unemployment is like more than 20% now. So most of these people will not go back to work right away. So like I was reading in one of the newspaper this morning about 14% of the people will not get a job. Well, I'm not saying will not get a job, but that's what their analysis is. 14% will be the true unemployment, even though maybe 50% of the people will go back to the work right away, but the remaining 14% will have to live on the unemployment for the next few months, which is more than the unemployment is more than back in 2008 or something. That's what they are saying. But in this, the difference between 2008 and this COVID-19 is 2008 is throughout the country almost the same way. The impact is same. Whereas COVID-19, the impact is not same. Like New York has beaten really bad. California has beaten really bad. Whereas Texas, it's not really that bad because Atlanta, Georgia, they opened, they are in front of us too. So it's not really that bad. But at the same time, it's not going to be like a V-shaped bounce back. It's going to be more like a U.
Mm-hmm.
So people will be losing some of the properties where they have higher leverage with higher interest rates and their bridge loans, for example, bridge loan term is only 3 years. I mean, if somebody bought a property with a bridge loan in 2017 or early 18, their loan will be due now. And if the property is not in a good condition, Fannie Mae will not give any loans on those because those are the two lenders that are giving loans now. So they cannot go back to another bridge. So in those cases, they have to, foreclose or something. Those kind of properties will be coming in the next few months. Again, it's not going to be like uniform throughout the country. It's going to be sub-market specific impact.
Yeah, gotcha. And I think we have a couple questions over here too. Just want to kind of address them. So you think in the next maybe 6-9 months, it's going to be looking pretty optimal because forbearance, guys, like for commercial, if you have agency loans, if you've gone through forbearance, you only actually get 3 months instead of the residential 12 months forbearance. And there's no currently, there's no rules that says you can tag it on at the end of the loan. So it's much harsher in terms of applying for forbearance. You have to pay it back within the 12 months after forbearance is run out. And that's only 3 months. And also while you're doing that, I believe all your excess from your NOI gets submitted to the lender until the 4 months paid. So essentially, going back to the cash management, your cash management kind of post, even by going to forbearance, is basically delay your debt for about like 3 months or so. So at that time, like a 6 to 9 months period, we may be seeing a lot more opportunities coming up. That being said, some of the seller expectation may already adjusted right now. So we're potentially seeing a lot more kind of lenient terms or a willingness to negotiate even now. So it's kind of probably a good time to kind of get into the market if you're kind of sitting on the sideline thinking about it. So a few questions over here. If you manage other owners' property and cannot get rent in COVID stage, do you collect management fees still? I don't think that applied to your situation, right? But what's your opinion on this? Let's say if you're a property management company, you're collecting rent for someone else, and you can't collect the rent, it's not doing very well. Do you still collect a management fee? It's a little bit off.
Again, like last year, I said like before the property, right? So having a third-party management company is one of the disadvantage here, because when we had that issue with the payroll with the third-party property management company, the first expense we saw in our bank account is property management company. Before debt service, you get hit with the property management company fee.
Yeah.
So can accrue the management fee. You don't charge them right away or something like that. So, but third party management companies, they charge no matter what, because they are like your vendor. They're not they don't have any vested interest in your properties other than managing them. They are like any of your other vendors, right? Your vendors, you have certain terms that net 30, net 15, whatever, you have to pay them. It doesn't matter for them.
Yeah. So the answer to this, Wayne, is that yes, you will be expected to collect the property management fee if you're a property management company, and in fact, before even like the debt, mortgage, and etc. And if you're on the receiving side as the owner, yes, you should be paying these property management fee, unless if you have discussions with your property management company. Have potentially, if they apply for PPP, they can potentially apply this to the payrolls and etc. to reduce some of the cost over there. Okay, another question was some of the properties, if you have had them on the short-term bridge loan, like the ones that we had, one of these newer acquisitions we did, what are some other plans to kind of like the strategy given the current situation? Now, you mentioned a bridge loan before is like people who has bridge loan 3-5 years ago. Now, given that we're kind of in the middle of it, the new bridge loan should be of a less of a concern during this time because they essentially have an extension period of 5 years total, right? So essentially giving that a wrong way to kind of run through. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. So
again, bridge loan,
yeah, go ahead.
Not all.
Oh, I think we lost the feed for a second from Reddy. Jazz, you want to kind of are you hearing Reddy too? I think we're kind of lost. The connection doesn't seem very good for Reddy over there. Do you want to answer this question? Basically, I think one of our investors was asking that we have short-term bridge loans over here on some of our properties. So like, what's your take? We might have some time before they're up, but what's the strategy on them given the situation?
We should wait for Reddy to answer for that one. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
He's back.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so what I was trying to say is that not all the bridge loans are bad. You have, your leverage is right and your interest rates. For example, the recent acquisitions that we did with you are also partner in that, Elisa. The interest rates were 4.5. We have a couple of properties where with Fannie Mae we are paying more than 5% interest rate because we acquired them in 2018 when the interest rates were really high. So our bridge loan interest rates are much lower than Fannie Mae loans. So those are good loans, and the play here is that with those bridge loans, we have this CapEx budget that comes with the bridge loan. We spend the CapEx budget and we improve the property within the next 18 months because if you exit after 18 months, you don't have to pay a lot of penalty. That's the advantage with the bridge loans. You can refinance, you can sell within 18 months. So your play is really short here. You have a good business plan. you execute it, you spend the capex money in the right place, you increase the value of the property. Within 18 months, the property will be ready for refinance with Fannie Mae loan, or you can sell the property with good returns. So you have, that's why I'm saying if you have a good property with good loan terms, bridge loans are also better, because with the two Fannie Mae loans that we acquired in 2018, even though their interest rates, one of them is 5.3 and the other one is 5.07. We cannot do anything with them because it's only 2 years now. If we try to refinance ourselves, we have to pay so much of, step down penalty, or, those, you have to pay a lot of penalty. So there's no other option but to carry that loan a few more years. Whereas with the bridge loan, I wish it was a bridge loan. We would have refinanced it with 3% interest right now. But so you have flexibility with bridge loans, with provided you take with good terms. Does it make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. So I think it's kind of like based on ROIs and also at the time. And I know in the financial sector, some more sophisticated institutional players, they kind of play with projections on rates, right? Because the lender basically the interest rate has everything to do with your acquisition strategy. So I know institutional player, they actually have a team that's specific looking forward, what is the rates going to be, and then from there they decide to take a bridge loan or to take a kind of like an agency loan, kind of placing your bets ahead a little bit. So okay, last question we have here is, I personally own a small apartment building, 52 units. In Dallas, and our property management company has increased in their cost, and the property is not making money. I live in California. Should I hire people myself and manage this property? I guess the other follow-up question is like, what's some of the suggestion that you would have for me to do over here? What's your thoughts, Reddy, on this?
So again, that's a good question, but at the same time, it depends on your situation. So if you are more of a hands-off guy, you just want to run your property on its own, then that's taking ownership or taking management is not a right decision, because once you take management, you have to be on top of everything. Especially if you are living in California, you need to have a good team in place. That's the first thing I would do. The first thing is you need to have a good manager that you can trust, good maintenance people that you can trust. Then probably you will be able to manage if you can travel once a month or something. Without that, I mean, it's hard to manage them living in a different state. For us, all our properties are within DFW. That's why it's easy for us, because we drive to at least 1 or 2 properties every day. So having on-site presence, frequent visits to the property will help in taking care of property. Because when we go to the property every other day, we go through the property, we drive through the property, we see any trash, we see the condition of the property, we make sure residents are being treated well. We get updates from residents. We talk to tenants sometimes and say, okay, what do you think about this property? What do you think about the maintenance guys here? We just get constant feedback from them. And then we use that feedback to improve the quality of the property. But at the same time, I mean, if you are more like a hands-on guy, I mean, you can do the same thing by having one of the previous owner that we bought a property from. He lives in California as well, but he has WhatsApp groups for everything. So WhatsApp messages for everything. If there is a maintenance issue, the maintenance person needs to send the owner a picture of before and after the work. So there are ways to do it, but you still have to have time and interest to take care of it.
And then a system, right? There's a sophisticated system over there. So I would suggest that over here is like, unless if you have a lot of property management experience, I'm always on the conservative side. If you have 50 units, that's kind of too small to self-manage. That's my honest opinion. I think you probably be better off to kind of do a little bit more homework to see if there's a third-party PMs that would take it on, or if there's a local asset manager on top of the property management that you can potentially hire to stay on top of your property manager. if that kind of makes sense. So that will be a person for you to kind of like hire based on like running certain things for you, but that's will sit on top of your property management company. So if you're kind of worried about the cost, and cost was your thing of switching your property management, then I suspect it's maybe not just cost. If the property isn't making money, maybe there's also a performance issue with the PM, right? That maybe they're not leasing up effectively or filling up the vacancies, and the expenses is too high. So it's kind of really usually combo. So in this case, you can potentially, sounds like a little backwards, but you can potentially do an equity share or hire asset manager to kind of help you oversee that. Because once you kind of get into the vertical model, it works for Reddy and Jazz because they live in DFW. And I actually have portfolio in Phoenix, and I've asked them, I'm like, hey, you guys want to expand to Phoenix? And they have no interest because they're like, we're not taking advantage of being local here, be able to kind of manage the property hands-on. So that's something to kind of consider, given that you do live in California. It can be done with a lot of system and processes in place. And then at some point do have a foot on the ground person, whether this be your lead, kind of like your on-site manager, or like an asset manager on top of that. I could envision some sort of model that could work, but otherwise maybe just looking for a different property management company and see if that works best for that. Great. I think these are all the Q&As I have over here, Reddy and Jazz. And thank you so much for spending the time with us today. We're a little over, about 17 minutes over or so. It's always kind of great to chat with you guys, face to face or through a virtual call over here. We really appreciate all your good time with us. And again, the session will be recorded. We only send it out to people who has registered or already on our COVAX series mailing list to kind of share. And definitely stay safe during this time. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa, for putting this together.
Yeah.
Thanks, Reddy. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.